2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Early contests build momentum for 2024 contenders seeking the White House. C-SPAN offers unfiltered coverage of events leading into early primaries and caucuses. Get access to speeches and results with the free app, C-SPAN Now, or watch live on the C-SPAN networks.
McCaffrey busting through at the 30, 35, 40. Quick race down the right side. Here he goes at the 50, 40, to the Miami 30, 20, at the 10. A swipe with the ankles. They can't get him. Touchdown, Christian McCaffrey. They can't get him. They can't get him.
They can't get him, but you can catch us. It's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by Carolina Cat Chronicles, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions, and tonight is a big time show as the Panthers make another sizable acquisition in free agency. It's kind of the cherry on the top of what has been quietly a phenomenal free agency by Marty Hurney. But the Carolina Panthers have signed Gerald McCoy. That is right. The Panthers are the real McCoy. That's tonight's show. Episode 19.18. I'm here with Cody Lashley in the house. I know you're excited about this Panthers defense.
I'm loving it because we just got the Big Mac, baby, the real McCoy, Gerald McCoy. I'm ecstatic, man. Marty Hurney really has gone out of his way, and he's put a lot of really talented players on this offensive and defensive line, and that's what you and I were saying and pounding the table for all last season, all into the offseason. I'm excited. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. We got some great guests tonight. Tony Dunn, let's roll, brother.
All right, we got Gene Thomas in the house. Buck What You Heard, longtime friend and my compadre whenever we get that South Side, South, what was it? What did we used to do? Southbound and down. We got to get that back. We got to get the southbound and down, south down and bound. I can't even say it.
We got to get it back, man. We really do. I think we had great chemistry. It was a lot of fun, and I miss it a lot.
It's a nice way to talk around the league about people, other teams you need to be informed on. You get such tunnel vision when it comes to your own team, or at least we do. I know that fans, we're so fanatic. We hyper focus on our own team. Sometimes it's helped to get a nice set of eyeballs from the outside. That's why we brought on Gene from Buck What You Heard podcast tonight to help us understand this Gerald McCoy as a player and what he could add to the Carolina Panthers defense. So we've got a fantastic show for you guys tonight. We want you to be a part of the show by participating in the chat room. We know we got the most lit chat room in Panther Nation right now. These guys are excited. I know that you guys have been pumped waiting for the show to get your 2 cents in. You can call into the show 252 228-5098. That's the Cat Calls line. There's a lot of calls and a lot of perspectives to be had going forward. So we've got a lot to talk about. So let's go right into it. Cody, the Panthers, bring up the hype video. Bring up the hype video. The Panthers have signed Gerald McCoy. Quietly, I was getting excited. Quietly, I thought this is the type of move that the Panthers need to do to add talent, to add experience, to add leadership on a defense that is looking for that has a new look to it. New look, young faces, and now we got a 6-time Pro Bowler in the house. Hype me up. People listening on the podcast later on, it's a montage of reactions. Carolina Panther players themselves welcoming Gerald McCoy into the house. You saw Greg Olsen popping bottles of champagne. Not literally, he did a gif of that. You saw Shaq Thompson excited about it. You saw Christian McCaffrey excited about it. And now I want to hear, how excited is Cody about it?
Man, I am pumped, man. I honestly... I was putting on Twitter, I believe that we will receive, man. I believed in my heart of hearts that this was going to happen. Whenever the NFL Network does the top 100 players of the past season, they always interview Gerald McCoy, and Gerald McCoy always has rave reviews about Cam Newton, man. He might hate playing against him, but he's always respected Cam Newton, the player. He's got a big personality. He's a nerd, man. He has a life-size statue of Batman in his house. I mean, come on. The dude had Game of Thrones cleats made for him the season before last. Dude, I'm so pumped. It doesn't matter what scenario you put him in. That's an upgrade to our offensive line. You can play him as a 3-tech in a 4-3 alignment or at a 5-tech defensive end in a 3-4 alignment. I mean, it gives you a lot more versatility. He can be a rotational guy on 4-3, a starter in a 3-4. I love it. And then everyone kind of always felt Dontari Poe was better at a nose tackle. So put him at 0, let him eat up space in the middle, let K1 and the real McCoy eat up space and get after the quarterback. I'm happy, man. I cannot remember a time going into the offseason where I was this pumped up about the defense and what all the new things that we were doing, man. Bruce Irvin and Christian Miller, Brian Burns as a first-round pick. I mean, this looks to be a fast, mobile, dynamic defensive front, and I'm here for it, man. I don't know how you could want anything else out of an offseason for our defensive line.
All right, I want to go to Gene Thomas, Buck What You Heard podcast. Also got some fans in the chat room of his Beer Man t-shirt right now, rocking the Beer Man Batman symbol together. Gene, longtime friend of the show. We go way back and doing NFC South shows together. What do we have in this player, Gerald McCoy? Where is he at? 31 years. As soon as he signs with the Panthers, people are saying he's everybody else. All of a sudden, he got old as soon as he signed with the Panthers. Tell me, Gerald McCoy, 6-time Pro Bowler, how good is he? What has he got left for us?
Gerald McCoy is a playmaker, and you will get plays out of him. And you mentioned Dontari Poe and KK Short. I mean, you've got a defensive line that's going to be a problem for offensive coordinators, scheme wise, if just based on what you have on paper. And again, he's a guy that you will see plays. I mean, that's the one thing that he does. If they allow him to go out and hunt for the quarterback, that's what he does best, and that's what you will get out of him.
So You know what I was going to kind of respond to Cody too in this is what I think Gerald McCoy does when he comes to the Carolina Panthers is he adds a veteran presence to that defensive line that is needed. That was much needed in this event, being that you've had a Julius Peppers retire at this point. Mario Addison is the elder, but really, you know, we're hot and cold. We don't know if he can be a leader of a defense by himself. KK, phenomenal player, but still a little young, but not, I mean, he is ready to assume that leadership role, but I think it's going to be a lot easier when you add guys like Bruce Irvin to the team, when you add Gerald McCoy, but more importantly, what you've added is not just a veteran presence, but actual talent, right? And now, Cody, when you go to that 3-4 defense and you put a Poe in the middle, I think Gerald McCoy is the fast, athletic tackle that can win in that type of system as a defensive end. I don't know if you could, if maybe an F.A. Obata could hold that entirely on his own.
No, I don't think that it could. And I've always felt that Kawann Short and Gerald McCoy were very similar players in their style of play. I mean, they're doing wushu out there. They win with their hand movements. They're not necessarily the most overtly physical guys in the world. They don't have the strength of a Fletcher Cox per se, but they're great with their hands. They're technicians. They know how to disengage with the guards in front of them and slip in between the gaps and get into the backfield and blow up runs and get after the quarterback. And they have an eye for where the ball goes. They know where the run play is going. You know, they have effective moves to be able to rush the passer. And I feel that the same way for Kawann Short and Gerald McCoy. I absolutely feel that they are going to be just fine playing 5 tech as a defensive end in the 3-4, 3 or 4 tech 5. It doesn't matter. They have the versatility to be able to play those positions. And you know, it kind of lends to what you've been saying, Tony, that this 3-4 Panthers defense is a lot more than something that we're just dabbling with. It looks to be, you know, the stepping stones to a real transition to that kind of a defense.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, too, that, you know, you will see them transition back to that nickel quite a bit as well. You look at the lineup that you guys have of linebackers that can at any time rush the quarterback. You can dial up a lot of different exotic blitzes as well. I think that you've set yourself up in a position where you can rotate these guys out, keep them fresh throughout the year. And if an injury does occur, you're still going to have a pretty dominant defensive line.
Good point about the depth and the rotation, the necessity of being able to weather a full season is important. And I think what you need to do is we should have Chris Jenkins, Charlotte Vibe, coming in to the show in just a moment. Cody's going to work to bring him in. But one of the things I think is that, like, when you looked at what the Panthers had executed in the offseason in this plan, you thought this could work, but there was a certain fragileness to the plan. Things needed to work very well. You needed Brian Burns to come in and be a contributor. You hope maybe you get a little out of Christian Miller. You hope that Mario Addison all of a sudden is going to be the guy that you said he could be in a 3-4 defense. And then you hope that the Panthers can transition this smoothly. But it was still fragile with that newer addition talent. This, I think, brings you it brings you a proven player that you can put in there for a short amount of time. It's 1 year. You did not risk a lot to do this. You solidified a lot to do it. Now, we've got our next guest on the show joining us in this panel celebrating the acquisition, or at least our end celebrating the acquisition of Gerald McCoy. Gene's over there just passively watching this unfold. But Charlotte Vibe in the house. Chris Jenkins. Can you hear me, Chris?
Hey, can you hear me is the better question.
We can.
Yes, we can. The man of the people himself.
The man of the people himself.
That's him.
technical difficulty. Hey, I need Joey to come and run my production studio, please. You got to send me a quote after the show, man.
Hey, man, I'll hook you up, brother.
I'm gonna give you. I'll email me. I'll give you some pro tips, because when I say pro tips, it always goes wrong. Don't worry, it always goes wrong. It is like I was saying. There is a certain fragileness to live broadcasting, much like the fragileness that was going to be around with the Carolina Panthers defense. All right, you were there, Chris. What was the kind of the mood? I feel like this is that what I love about these moments right here is that for so long, Panthers media, not the people that work for the team, just the overall professional media, anytime a free agent comes about and we're like, we got to get him, we need this guy in here, they're like, oh, you guys are thinking out of turn. I think even the media was excited about this. I think that they were licking their chops at a story at this point in the season. What was the sentiment?
I mentioned this when I was on last time, that McCoy could possibly be a Panther.
Yeah,
you did.
True.
What was the sentiment today, Chris, at Bank of America as they did that press conference as Gerald McCoy addressed Panthers media?
Well, I mean, from the media perspective, heck yeah, we're happy, man. It's like, big news, 6-time Pro Bowler. You need we always need stuff to talk about. So media was happy, but the mood in that press conference, I knew nothing much about McCoy before last week. And as soon as this guy starts talking and he does his little introduction, I'm like, man, he seems like really, really real and cool and just honest and sincere. And not that anybody seemed pretty faked and like a product in the past, but it just came off extremely genuine. And then when he started talking about his reasons for coming and the interaction that he felt with the team, it all felt like just so like feel good story of the year, man. It was really awesome. It was really awesome to be in there.
Here is McCoy making some remarks about why he chose Carolina.
The fact that you get to play Tampa twice in the NFC South, what kind of role did that play in the decision?
A lot of people put more into that than they should. The reason I'm here is because I was quoted as saying I wanted to go to a contender, and every ounce of me feels like this team is a true contender, and the NFC South champs are the New Orleans Saints, and they're known to have a great offense. And in order to take them out, you got to have a great defense. And Carolina Panthers have been known to have a great defense. And I just want to add to that. And I truly believe with the addition of me and all the pieces that are already here, you got a great shot.
All right, Chris, as you're
that's it. I'm not coming on the show anymore. You're not playing my questions. That was the deal. If I come on here, you play my questions.
I got your question. I actually have your question. And I think it was it this one? No, I got your question somewhere.
Now I'm just now you don't even know who's on your show.
No, I don't got no. That wasn't. I have your question somewhere. It wasn't the Sue number because that's Joe Person. I got you in there somewhere. You had the best question today. Tell us go ahead. Why don't you tell us what you asked Gerald McCoy? Because I think it had something to do with old Ronnie Rivera.
Yeah, I asked him, he's talked about a lot of different things, but I wanted him to tell me what was the single most reason, what stood out from his conversations with Ron and the team to make his decision. Are you still queuing it up?
No, you're going to have to just tell us what he said because I'm not going to find it.
I honestly forget at this moment. Because
he said, this was so Cody's clip. Cody got the clip. It said this, is that Ron Rivera he's been proven successful in this league. He's been successful at every level from coordinator to head coach. And when you got him and you got a good proven coach like that and you've got an MVP, and I believe his words were, once an MVP, always an MVP who is touching the ball on each snap. A lot of good things can happen from that. He really responded to your question, Chris, and the reason he did is because of the coaching carousel that he has been a part of, or he has witnessed while he's been in Tampa over the last 9 years. And so that was a stability. And I was going to ask this, and Cody, I'll start with you, Cody, and then we'll go to Chris and then get Gene on this. We've heard the players were big in recruiting McCoy. He talked significantly about Ron Rivera. He responded positively about David Tepper. It seems like the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, at least from a player standpoint, have a slight destination feel for free agents a little bit, where there is something attractive about having a coach that's been around for a while, an owner who is enthusiastic about winning. These things seem to be working in our favor, Cody.
Absolutely, man. I mean, for such a long time now, you've heard players, speak about the camaraderie that there is in that locker room. Even last year, when we started losing all those games, they never gave up on Ron Rivera. They never gave up on the team. Cam Newton played to the very bitter end until his shoulder damn near couldn't throw the football anymore. But this is a team that's all in, man. All these guys, they believe that they are a championship contending football team going into next season. And they felt Gerald McCoy would be a big part of helping the Panthers reach that next level. I feel all NFL players are friends on a certain level, no matter what team you play for. And especially the fact that we have to play Tampa Bay 2 times a year. McCoy knows all the players very well. He's a huge fan of Cam Newton. And it just doesn't seem too far-fetched that the players would go out of their way to, say, hey, Gerald, we got something special going on here in this locker room, man. We want you to be a part of it. I know he told a story about in 2014, he told Trey Turner that Trey Turner was going to be a Pro Bowl guard, and sure enough, that's what happened. So he already has a little bit of a built-in rapport with a lot of the players on the football team, and it's a perfect match, man. And our players wanted him to be here. Ron Rivera wanted him to be here, and hey, he's a Carolina Panther.
All right, Chris Jenkins, Charlotte Vibe, who has been covering this team, credentialed reporter covering this team since before this podcast was in existence. Chris, you've seen a lot of things happen. You've seen changes in general management.
Is he drinking a beer?
Yeah, we drink on the podcast, dude.
Someone back.
He has a shirt that says Beer Man on it. Of course he's drinking a beer.
I don't have anything, man.
My question is this: you've seen you've seen GM changes twice, you've seen scandal unfold, and now ownership changes. Do you believe at this point where are the Panthers? He seems like he fits in our locker room. How's the feel? You said he seemed like a cool dude. What is just the temperature and tone of the Panthers culture at this moment? Are people feeling kind of loose in a good way at Bank of America?
Yeah, I would say they feel extremely loose in a very positive way, and something that probably has not been talked about. Again, going back to the character of Gerald and how sincere he was, his wife was in the room today, and I don't recall any player having his wife present during their press conference or coming in. Says he has 5 kids, but he did speak a lot about the camaraderie and the fit and just how it just felt right. It wasn't that Baltimore or Cleveland did anything wrong. He said their pitches were solid, pretty good, but it was just how much of a fit. Like, he just felt it inside with this team, and I get excited about that. And I feel like this was, if I was to say, I'd say players, number 1, convinced him, Rivera, number 2, and then I'd say Hurney and Tepper, 3 and 4, because I asked him about speaking with Tepper, and he basically said, yes, he did. But he didn't say anything like memorable from it other than acknowledging that he did also speak with Tepper. He spoke about Ron Rivera's character and liking that a lot as well, but I still really feel like that going out to lunch with those guys, and the fact that they took time to do it, and the fact there was a place that wasn't the coolest steak or burger place to have meat, he really took that to heart as like, I appreciate you guys really want me here. So it's pretty positive, man. You got to like any team with that kind of unity. You feel like they can play even better than their talent may be because of that chemistry.
Gene, Gerald McCoy has been an interesting figure in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization for the last decade. A player who has been really the only consistent star you've had through all these regime changes, even if we talk about Levante David or the guy who went to San Francisco.
Quan Alexander.
Yeah, Quan Alexander. These guys, they're a lot shorter stints right there. Is you've got a multi-year, multiple contracts with this player. With all of that, is that McCoy never seemed to be entirely ingratiated with the fan base. While we are looking at this individual, licking our chops about how he's going to fit in so well, how he seems like he can walk right into the room with a Cam Newton or a Trey Turner or a KK. Why is it? Tell us a little bit about that personality and how that fit in Tampa Bay.
To be very honest, I don't believe it's a personality issue. When he first came into the league, there was a lot of association with Gerald McCoy and Warren Sapp, and I think that was that raised the expectations pretty high. The first 2 seasons, he ended up with season-ending injuries. As the season progressed, and that didn't really help matters either. As and you consider into 5 different defensive coordinators throughout his stint with Tampa, it doesn't help. And it really makes sense what you're talking about when you talk about a player that is talking to a Ron Rivera. You have that stability. You don't have that turnover. And it's definitely something that you can look forward to, not to take anything away from Cleveland or the Ravens, but what Ron Rivera has been able to do, he's been able to bring players in. And to be honest, I think this is probably one of the more, being objective here, this is probably one of the more underrated free agencies that I've seen of the teams in the NFL, what the Carolina Panthers have been able to do on paper. It's very underrated, just the players that they've been able to bring in. And you're switching over to a 3-4 defense, and you've got a lot of pieces that can definitely help that. So I think Joe McCoy watches game film more than a lot of people. He's very football savvy, and this probably looked like the best fit for him, where he could come in and do what he does best and play to his strengths. So just looking at this from as an outsider looking in, I think Joe McCoy did what was best for him to where he could succeed and possibly get a big paycheck after this.
You cannot take away anything from the Browns because they have nothing to take away. I'm sorry. They have not won.
When you look at what they're putting together over in Cleveland, and how you look at the hype train right now. And again, that's why I say Gerald McCoy is a very football savvy player. I'm sure he looked at all the scenarios and felt like this was probably the best scenario for him, where he could go and hunt the quarterback, which is what he does best. So again, I look at all these different teams, and again, not to take anything away from anybody else, but I felt like when you talk about stability, you talk about players, you talk about scheme, I think this was definitely probably the best fit for Gerald McCoy.
My theory.
DeLome in our chat room says Jen has that cool ESPN radio voice. So you've got a fan out there.
And a face made for radio. Hey, that's Joe Riolano's line right there. He loves to drop that one. I was going to say my theory about why Gerald McCoy never jived with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan base. And one, the injuries always complicate things with with players with talent. But 2, like you said, these expectations. But 3, what I would say is this, is that he has been y'all's superstar in a time of just nothingness. And whether it's just been this mess all the time in Tampa, whether it's turnover, of coaching staff,
Turnover. Losing.
Yeah. And I would say this is, despite even Gerald McCoy doing all the things that he could do, he's the only guy that's been around the whole time for them to take it out on. And that superstars get super credit, but they get super blame too. And I think, too, what I saw with his personality is a little what you see with a Cam Newton at times. And that is, they know that their play is it speaks for itself in so many levels. So they're not going to cry to you about their performance in this, where you want them to be remorseful that they lost, that everything is going terrible.
But he will block you if you get out of line with him. Trust me.
Well, don't worry. Some of the Tampa media has already done that, and I got something to say about this lady later on in the show. But, Cody, go ahead in there. I know you wanted to say something in response to that.
Well, yeah, so, Gene, you mentioned him viewing the Panthers as a contender, but I also think something that came out is that it was closer to home for him. It was a little bit closer. He didn't have to really uproot his family and move that far away. But also, and the media has kind of sensationalized this a little bit. Now, Ndamukong Suh is wearing that 93 that Gerald McCoy has so proudly boasted for a long time in Tampa Bay. Do you think that there's some hard feelings there that the Buccaneers organization viewed McCoy, this guy who has given blood, sweat, and tears to the organization for so long, they let him go in favor of another defensive tackle and then let that guy have his number that he had his entire time as a Buccaneer? Do you think there's any hard feelings there?
I can't say for sure. All I can tell you is Joe McCoy is going to come in and play. You guys have a great player that's been brought in. I don't get caught up in all the jersey 93, who's wearing 93, because Ndamukong Suh, I believe he was wearing 93 in Detroit or something like that. So, I mean, they both been wearing that number. So to me, Gerald McCoy was a business move. He moved on. I strongly believe, in all sincerity, that Gerald McCoy will retire as a Buccaneer. But, while he's here in Carolina, you guys really need to enjoy him and appreciate what you have.
Let's move quickly to ask Chris let's talk about this Panthers offseason while we're focusing on the Gerald McCoy signing. Big news today. And I know all the people in the chat room want to talk about that, and the cat calls are all about that. Chris, where do you see the Panthers in this offseason transition? And there, really some questions with this team after last season. You thought you had something going. You started out 6-2. Cam Newton takes a beating in that Pittsburgh game. His shoulder never the same after that. Falls apart with an 8-game losing streak. You're wondering if Ron Rivera and Marty Hurney can make it through this offseason. The Panthers seemingly and wisely, it seems at this point, stuck with these guys. And Hurney has done this. He signed Eric Reed. He's gone and acquired a Matt Paradis. He's then had a draft that people are excited about. As you're there watching this, how do you think the Panthers offseason is unfolding to this point right now?
Man, I feel like it's one of the better ones in recent memories. Right now we're doing the famous what's on paper, and what's on paper looks pretty impressive with what they're doing. And I almost feel like after this offseason, with all the offseason moves, that there'll be more pressure to fire guys if there's no success coming up, more so than last year, because it seems like there's so many good, very, very solid moves. The way they release guys, the way they make cap room. And I feel pretty optimistic about the season coming up. There's a lot of great moves. Even getting depth at quarterback, as controversial as that could seem to some people, knowing that you need to prepare for the future and going ahead and getting that guy where they did is, to me, seems like a good foundation for the future.
There is a certain aggression there. I think, is that ultimately we have Cody has been a fan or was calling for a regime change this past offseason, and the leash can only be so long. There is an attitude of, at some point, when is enough, and when do you move on? But right now, all the signs are pointing to is that the Panthers are tooling in a way that is in some ways a very exciting product that we haven't seen before or in a while. I feel like they're meshing talent. We went from the oldest team in the league to now the oldest guy on the team is Greg Olsen. Gerald McCoy is probably like the third oldest player. It was probably Greg Olsen, Bruce Irvin, and Gerald McCoy as the oldest people on this team.
How old is McCoy?
He's 31. 31. So that's we went from long in the tooth to there's an excitement there, but there's also some uncertainty at the same time because so many changes are systemic. Shift into this new defense. If there's anything, Cody, how do you feel about this offseason? I know that in one way, for a long time, you've been mild on Hurney. Are you a believer, my friend?
Listen, I will 100% give the man the benefit of the doubt. And yes, I mean, I'm not going to be unreasonable. You know, I kind of, you're right. I was of the mindset that, you know, it was time to do something different in Carolina. But I feel like after David Tepper bought the organization, there's really been an injection of this energy where everyone feels like, okay, it's a new era. We're going to do some new things. We're going to go about this aggressively. We're going to bring in players that are going to fill the real holes on our team. And he's done just that. Listen, football is won in the trenches on the offensive line and the defensive line. And if you look at what he's done in drafting Craig Little at left tackle, Matt Paradis, which is probably still the most underrated signing out of all of our free agents to date, a Pro Bowl caliber center. You're going to have Trey Turner and Taylor Moton. Darrell Williams is going to fit in somewhere. And then you have this revamped front seven. I mean, that's where you win football games. And if Cam Newton is back up to health and he can throw that deep ball, I mean, there isn't any limit to what this Panthers team is able to achieve. And he has done a tremendous job putting talent on the football team. And as of right now, I give Marty Hurney all the credit in the world, and he deserves it, and Ron Rivera as well, because I hear that he has played a role in bringing a lot of these people in, like Gerald McCoy, who has a lot of respect for Ron Rivera.
And super quick, what I like is that they've done some good things in the draft the past 3 years or so on the offensive side, where they're not worried about that cap space and guys' contracts. They got some good talent on the offense. They got some years left on their contract. So they are able to put a few more dollars into that defense. And now you've got a really good balance where you're excited about offense, because I know we haven't talked about it because all the acquisitions have been on defense. But you got Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, and Chris McCaffrey, who Rivera said the other day, like, people forget and say, guys, how could Christian get that much better? But Rivera's like gushing about how much even better this year McCaffrey's getting than he was last year. And just liking what's going on with the franchise.
100%. And I believe that Curtis Samuel, he might be the star receiver on our football team this year. You know, I know DJ Moore also has a ton of potential. I'm just a huge fan of Curtis Samuel. I hope he stays healthy. We have so much potential on both sides of the football. I mean, listen, we're June. I'm already so excited for the football season, man. I cannot wait for week 1 against Los Angeles here at home, baby. I'm ready for it.
And I think that a lot of teams are addressing what you saw with Drew Brees over the past couple of seasons and the Saints going to the playoffs and going deep into the playoffs, and just addressing the defense and trying to find ways to stop him. Just in the NFC South, I think has been very important for a lot of teams, in the NFC South.
100%. And I do want to say one more thing. I do like how the Panthers are putting a premium on interior pressure, destroying the pocket of the opposing team's quarterback. You have guys like Cam Newton and Russell Wilson. If you have an edge defender coming around the edge, they're mobile enough to be able to make a play on their own. But, man, it's so much harder for a player like Drew Brees and Matt Ryan to be able to deliver the football and step up into the pocket when you have, 3 potential Well, yeah, but Poe, McCoy, and Carolina Short, those are three Pro Bowl defensive tackles right in your face. So I love that. I think that's how you should build your defense to apply pressure.
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We've got 66 people watching right now. We've got 30 thumbs up. It's guilt time, folks. It is shame and guilt time. Give us some thumbs up. Smash that button. Help grow Panther Nation with the longest running Panthers podcast out there. Chris Jenkins in the house, Charlotte Vibe, doing a lot of work on the Panthers. He's there on the ground in the trenches. Speaking of, what are you hearing about Cam Newton? What are you seeing about Cam Newton? We see that Ron Rivera was a little perturbed that somebody took a picture of Cam Newton. You silly goose, man. Everybody can see you, but Chris can see you from his damn office. Oh, he's probably got that giant camera out there watching. Have you seen what's the status of Cam Newton's shoulder, man? And can you sneak one of those pictures for us and send it to me, and I'll leak it? Nobody will know.
Hey, this is really round. You said something that made me think about this. All the renovations that are going on at the facility. I think you said something about me being in the trenches and everything. There used to be a little cubby hole spot in the media room. They had like 4 tables, and that's where I would go in and work. As big as that stadium is, can you believe they are changing that and they're making it a freaking storage room? And now I have less room in the media workroom to work.
What if they got a store in there? They could store me in there, and I'll jump out and I'll be like, Cam, I love you.
They can build out. But about Cam Newton, yeah, Rivera was – it was funny when he started talking about it because he acted like he was looking. He was like, some people around here are
like they're being watched.
Right. Like you're going to see him now. And I'm thinking, that's not good. But, I don't have much to say about Cam because they have been so hiding of him. And even with him practicing the other day or throwing the ball the other day, they didn't go to say much about the success or lack of success or what they thought about him from that point. So I feel like they're just going to continue to keep that on, very close to the vest until he's literally about to throw.
But isn't it good that we're seeing him in social settings? He played in the kickball. The kickball tournament was after his surgery, right?
Yeah, you're not going to see Cam sit down on his butt while he recovers unless he's just absolutely broke, man. I've been wanting to ask Rivera, how tough is it to watch Cam because he has such a high threshold for pain compared to the other guys, like how do you find that balance from the guy just saying, hey, it's okay, to you really, really knowing, what's going on with his muscles and ligaments and everything in that shoulder?
Well, when you ask him that question and he goes, oh, man, it's hard, you'd be like, well, how'd you feel in week 13 last year when you kept him in there? When we were losing, you should have taken him out. No, that's the hard follow-up right there. All right. Send
me your questions, man, anytime.
Yeah, the hard press Ron Rivera on. Why didn't you sit Cam? How do you protect this guy from himself? No, I think we need to be optimistic about Cam Newton's health at this point from how the smile on his face, the interaction, the joking around, the Flex Fridays. Those are small things. And I know that doesn't mean everything is that he's ready to go out and start for today or whatever, but is all good evidence too. We're not, if he wasn't doing well, we wouldn't see him in these moments. We would see the Cam Newton with the weight on his shoulder, literally, and you can read his face at times when he is mentally struggling with those types of things, and he's not. So these are all signs are pointing good at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like now you're just super quick is that when he first got hurt, he was just so bummed about not being able to participate. And I think now that he having been through it before, I can't predict how much he's hurt or how good he feels, but I feel like mentally he's okay and trusting everything that's going on right now because he's been through it before. So I think that's another reason why you're seeing him not mope. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you guys, where do you draw the line? Because I remember the Pittsburgh game and in which I thought that's where Cam Newton got hurt. And I thought that December 2nd against the Bucs, when he was stretching for the first down in the third quarter, I thought is where he really got hurt. And where do you draw the line? This is your franchise quarterback. what do you have? Where do you draw the line trying to protect him from himself and in doing further damage?
Cody, I say this: we drew the line in the draft when we started drafting some damn offensive linemen.
Yeah, as we should have done. And I
keep in mind, and I just want to kind of piggyback off what I was saying. He's a mobile quarterback, and he was stretching for a first down. This wasn't like he was in the pocket trying to throw the ball. He was stretching for a first down, is where he really injured himself. And you could tell there was no velocity on his passes after that. In the weeks following, Cleveland, New Orleans, Atlanta, New Orleans, you could not see. Whenever you watched him, he didn't have that velocity on the ball like he'd had before. Isn't it a coach's job, in your opinion, is it a coach's job to say, hey, I know that you think you can go out there and do this, but I have to protect you for next year so that it's not permanent damage or something that could come back to haunt you?
Yeah, and I was even saying this last year. I felt after we lost to Seattle against the Seahawks at home, that it was just it didn't feel right then. I felt like our season was over then. We were not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs at that point in time. And Cam Newton being the competitor, I understand that he wants to play. But yeah, I thought that they should have taken him out sooner. And I said this after we drafted Will Grier. They want this train to keep on rolling. I was doing some scouting for Draft Tech, and I liked Will Grier a lot. He was my third rated quarterback in the draft. And it's kind of what I said to you before the show. David Tepper just spent $2.2 billion on a football team. And this man wants a return on his investment. With that said, Cam Newton is the type of player that we have seen him shoulder a football team when he was the primary passer and rusher on the football team. I mean, they were dependent on him for yards through the air and on the ground. So if you look at Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, now they have Chris Hogan and Jarius Wright, guys that he's able to check down the football to. So even if there's nothing available down the field, drop the ball off to your check down, get the ball out of your hands. That also helps Cam Newton avoid taking all the big hits that he would have had to taken in the past, throwing the football downfield on these bombs to Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin of all people.
But again, you look at his play as a quarterback. That's not how he does it. I mean, he's pretty much set in his ways on how he does things. I'm sure that there are some things he would change, but for the most part, Cam Newton is Cam Newton, and you know what you have.
Tell a lion not to roar.
Yeah, in the words of Cam Newton.
Here's the thing: is Ryan Atkinson in the chat room says he's not getting hurt when he's running. He's getting hurt when his ass is staying in the pocket, getting clobbered. And we finally, what I would say is that one of those free agent acquisitions that we did not. Well, we got Matt Paradis, the most valuable signing in free agency. Oh, everybody is looking at the big time names at defensive end or Tyra or the Honey Badger, things like this, is that center replacing Ryan Khalil, losing Ryan Khalil, who has been a 10 or 13 year starter in the league, who has been such an important part of this franchise. Losing him and going to nothing would have been impossible. We go out and you get a guy who is a top-rate player for $13 million. You don't break the bank doing it. You draft Greg Little, not so tiny left tackle who Ken D says is going to be the Jordan Gross 10-year replacement player. You sign a Darrell Williams. I say this, is that what we have done is that while Cam Newton has taken a lot of hits, and we have asked him to do a lot in the running game, and he's been so tremendous at it, we have also asked him to be a damn Houdini. We have had and you want to talk about it, if anybody should understand this, it's Gene, is that your offensive line has been a wreck for the last decade. And when it is a wreck, it doesn't matter what you got back there. It takes a Cam Newton to win. It's surprising we've won to this. So how are we protecting him? We're finally doing what you're supposed to do. The most basic formula. Put some guys in front of him that might be able to block worth a damn.
And what you have to consider, too, the NFL is a copycat league. If you go back to the wild card, you go back to the NFC Championship, all the players, all the playoff games, all these games were won in the trenches, whether it's on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball. All these games were won in the trenches, and that is where the emphasis should have always – it should have never gotten away from it, but it looks like to me, especially with the draft, that's where the emphasis was this year, whether it's free agency or the draft, is improving in the trenches on the offensive and defensive side of the ball.
Our chat room is popping off tonight, man. We have a lot of really great comments in the chat. Carl D is saying that Cam Newton has to be better on those check down throws. And man, I'm telling you, ask Christian McCaffrey if Cam Newton can throw a check down. Okay, man, especially at the end of the season.
100 times.
The ball, dude, he was the king of the check down. And, I even feel maybe it's better that since Cam Newton wasn't able to depend on that throwing power as he's normally able to do, I feel that it benefited his game, knowing where Christian is at, knowing where the hot receiver is, to be able to pick up on a blitz.
That's another weapon in his arsenal.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, getting the ball out of your hands is pivotal. And, one of the things I think that we've all been able to reasonably criticize Cam Newton from time to time is he's always trying to play superhero ball. Sometimes he will hold on to the ball too long. I feel last season, maybe, even though it was a wasted season, it was better for him to see, okay, man, I know Christian's my safety blanket. He's right there. Curtis Samuel is somewhere out there. Now you have Hogan and Jarius Wright. If Cam Newton is able to throw the football like he has in the past, man, he has a full repertoire of talent around him and the ability to do everything that he has to do in the offense.
Fantastic show so far tonight. There's 70 people watching right now. One of the biggest off-season shows we've had so far. We appreciate your support. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button, subscribe, and the way you can help grow Panther Nation alongside of us is to share this link to the show with one friend who likes the Carolina Panthers. I'm telling you, we've created a culture like the Carolina Panthers have that is attracting
and
people.
Guys, I don't even think it's liking the Carolina Panthers. I think it's liking the good content. The NFL is a microcosm of the world, and you don't have to like the team, but getting to know what your opponents are doing or what's going on with another team, I think is very important too. And I always drop your name. I always drop you guys' name when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. I saw a guy with a Panthers hat. I'm like, listen, you got to be listening to Carolina Cat Chronicles. If you're not, you're missing out. So, just wherever I see it, I'll definitely mention you guys because you guys have really great content.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody in the chat room, we thank you for your support and those thumbs up. And we also thank you for calling into the Cat Calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. We're going to go ahead and jump into those calls in just a second. I think the underrated story, guys, though, as we've talked about this, we've talked about these acquisitions with Cam, maybe adding some protection for Cam Newton, the success that Marty Hurney has had in the offseason. The story that is not being talked about is that Norv Turner, second year with his hands on these guys. He's laid hands on Curtis Samuel. He's laid hands on DJ Moore. He's touched the golden boy and Christian McCaffrey. If Norv Turner can get a healthy Cam Newton working with knowing what he's got a little bit more, this is exciting. The Norv Turner product was very good last year, and you knew he was limited. I feel like he's going to be able to open things up more with a healthy Cam, with a line that can do some of the concepts that he wants to do in the future. There is something about that continuity, too, on the offensive side of the ball, Cody.
Yeah, man. North Turner has always traditionally been a down-the-field passer. He likes to run the football, and when you're going to throw it, you're trying to put the stake in their heart. You're trying to throw the football downfield. And part of the reasons why I'm so excited about this offense this year, especially if we all feel that Cam Newton's going to come back healthier than ever before, I'm telling you, man, Curtis Samuel has the potential to be Ted Ginn and then some. I'm so excited about the potential of Curtis Samuel in this offense. DJ Moore as well. They're guys that are able to do things down the field that Lord knows Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin, weren't doing for Carolina. Kelvin Benjamin might never play football again. I feel like I'm always pouring onto that guy. But listen, man, when you look at what Cam Newton has had to deal with in the past, shouldering the offense, being the primary rushing attack, and the thrower of the football, throwing into tight windows, as he's always had to do. Now you're finally starting to see an organization that understands that you have to put talent around your franchise, and your franchise is your quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter if you have the best roster up and down. If you don't have a quarterback that can run your offense to a reasonable degree of effectiveness, then you're dead on arrival. And we have an MVP caliber quarterback with Cam Newton. And, they're putting the pieces around him. And it's a perfect time because we have to decide if we want to make Cam Newton the highest paid player in football within the next 2 years. You know my opinion on it. I say pay him all the money that you need to. But I'm genuinely excited about the makeup of the offense and the defense right now. It feels brand new. Like there's a brand new energy here in Charlotte around the Carolina Panthers, and I'm loving it.
All right, I want to get into these cat calls live, but there's some talk on Twitter that has to be addressed, and Gene's the only person that's going to be able to help interpret this for us. T-Money 1993, my man, I saw him in the YouTube chat earlier. He said this, I don't think, this was from 28 minutes ago, but he said, I don't think when we're talking about why he didn't fit in with Bucs fans, he said, I don't think being a nice guy who can dominate was something Tampa fans liked, but we don't mind hearing Carolina. But here's the comment I need help with, Gene, is I said I've been getting on people from the Bucs. I've been getting on Bucs fans who have been throwing him under the bus, who have tossed McCoy aside. And this is what Matt Bergner at Matt MattBurgner1 says. He says he's so petty. He's such a petty, soft individual. Bucs were good to him and let him go with no issues. Panthers are not a winner and not guaranteed at the playoffs, so he made a petty choice. I said to him, he's soft. Y'all are taking pot shots at a guy who has been the only bright spot on that dreary-ass team of yours for a decade. And then he said, no, we're not talking about Levante David. We're talking about soft McCoy who laughs while sucking, lets his wife cry on Instagram for him, and apologizes when he finally gets a sack. Why is there this disdain for McCoy? Was he not upset enough with the culture in Tampa?
Man, I wouldn't even address it. If it were me looking on Twitter, I would have scrolled past that particular thing because that's just me. I didn't, like I told you, and I've said this before, and I'm sure that there's two sides to this. You have the people that are for McCoy and they realize what he's done, and then you have those guys that don't look at it that way. I saw plays away from the ball that he made. I saw plays that he could have made and he didn't. So, but that's football. That's just what it is. I didn't have a problem. That was a business decision. And you kind of knew that Gerald McCoy was going to be in free agency and he wasn't going to return to one buck after that last game of the season when they had the interview. And you kind of knew that deep down. And, unfortunately, that's one of those things that it just happens. And fans, everybody's got their own narrative of what happens. But again, like I've talked about, he's a talent, and the Carolina Panthers really need to appreciate him. As far as all that stuff getting personal, bringing somebody's wife in, I don't think there's really a place, realistically to even address stuff like that. So
unless it's Miko and she can take care of herself.
Yep. Yeah. You know, that's my girl right there.
Mine too. All right. Let's jump into these cat calls. But and Gene, please know you're welcome to stay to the end of the show as long as you want. If you have things to go do, we thank you. But let's jump into these cat calls and see what the fans got to say. The number's 252-228-5098. Thanks for your support, guys.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey, Tony. It's Cody up here in Roanoke, VA. How you doing,
What's
Cody?
up, Cody?
Just wanted to call. Obviously, the news broke today about our boy Gerald McCoy. Just saying, I don't think I've been as excited about an off season and the upcoming year as I have this year. And I know that sounds funny because we went into the off season with so little cap space, but I just feel like so many big moves were made that, I mean, I know that people are going to point to the Browns as people who win the off season, but I sit there and I look, obviously the Browns haven't had a star in a while, and so they haven't had to pay anybody any money, so they had all this money to just waste, right? And then, so all of their moves were really easy. Let's be honest, it was really easy. This offseason for the Panthers and Hurney is probably one of the more difficult off seasons to accomplish what we've accomplished. With as little cap space as we went into the off season and as many holes as we need to fill, the fact that we've pretty much filled them all and not, had any issues and had to get rid of any big talent that we felt like was going to be impactful to the team is an amazing feat. And I have nothing but good things to say about Hurney up to this point. I will say this much.
Miso Hurney.
Cody, you were full on ready to just pull the Band-Aid off and get rid of both of them. I was kind of there on the podcast one night saying, I think that we should at least give it one more year because we know what we get with these these representatives as far as coach and GM, that the unknown would be unpredictable. And I think that what we've accomplished this offseason is enough to say that it was a good decision to not let go of Hurney. We'll see what happens with Rivera, but I don't think none of these moves would have happened without Tepper. And just saying, he's going to be the MVP of maybe the NFL next year, just because he was being willing to let the people make the moves that needed to be made. So anyway, this is long-winded, kind of got off track, but nonetheless, hey guys, keep pounding, listen to the podcast, probably the morning after, just because I work late tomorrow night, and love what you guys do. Keep it going,
man. Thank you. Thanks so much for the support there. We appreciate that. CK, there is. Let me say this is that yes, Cody was adamant about getting rid of Hurney, getting rid of Rivera, starting fresh and new. I was on the other side of the fence. We've had some great debates on this show. We stayed true to our positions. Good thing, though, I've been consistent on this, is that I've told you that Marty Hurney has been a good GM. He's a good GM before he left and a good GM and a better GM since he's returned. He's learned a lot. Jerry Richardson, part of the problem with the first stint of Marty Hurney, I do think sometimes you can get a little stale leaving, seeing Dave Gettleman do what he did, maybe learning from some of the good things he did, but Hurney has been nothing but impressive since his return. If you think about it, all of a sudden Dave Gettleman is let go 3 days before training camp after pressure from yeah, the guy that drafted Drew Lock or whatever. Drew, what's his name? Daniel Jones. That's it. That David Gettleman. Yeah. Actually, David Gettleman did some good things for the organization, but also made some giant mistakes at times. Now,
well, but you said the name Jerry Richardson. I believe he was much more heavy-handed behind the scenes with both GMs, Hurney and Gettleman. But continue.
So, look, Hurney takes over this team 3 days before training camp comes about. He's able to smooth things over with a Greg Olsen, with a Thomas Davis that does not handicap us for long. He has the guts at some he brings back Julius Peppers. I think Dave Gettleman was able to bring back, but then Marty Hurney back on that train there. You get a good relationship there. You start to see some of the plan unfold, but really things started to be impressive when Marty Hurney, he trades Kelvin Benjamin. You go, wait a minute, this guy is not just a patsy that's been brought into the end of the season making moves like this. On top of that, when we struggled and we ran into injury after Denoris Cersei went down, it took a little time, maybe a week or two too long, but Marty Hurney goes out and gets Eric Reed, then recommits to Eric Reed in the offseason for a price tag that is nowhere in the ballpark of what safeties were overpaid this offseason for. Marty Hurney wins on Eric Reed. He wins, it seems like, in the draft. In 2 consecutive years, he's had a good draft, it looks like, from the outside looking in. Marty Hurney has been aggressive, and I was hoping, Gene, please ask me, Gene. Ask me the question. Please. Is it win now? Is this a win now season? You asked us this over and over before the show.
Is this a win now season or is this a reload season? I have to ask that question.
Thank you. All right, Cody. To me, I think we've seen some aggression and I think a calculated aggression with Marty Hurney that we didn't see with Dave Gettleman. We saw Dave Gettleman.
Is there basically a window to do this and be successful getting to the Super Bowl and getting over that hump?
I think the window's closing on one side of the room and it's opening on the other side. We're creating a draft and we're getting a draft in that room. I think we're being aggressive without selling out our future. Go, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing. I think that we do. Okay, there is a window when you're talking about certain players on the team. Who's the backbone of the offense and the defense? We already know the answer to this. It's Cam Newton on the offense and Luke Kuechly on the defense. And then, of course, you have guys like Greg Olsen, and then guys that we wanted to get a Super Bowl ring before they retired, like Ryan Khalil and Julius Peppers. And then it just doesn't turn out that way. But, there is a window of time, especially for some of those players that, it's time to capitalize, man. The NFL stands for not for long. And, you're not playing the sport very long. You have to capitalize while you have the talent on your football team. And one of the things that you hear in every press conference, and the players know this now more than ever, this is a business. It's a business every single day. And David Tepper just spent a lot of money on a $2.2 billion investment. He wants a Super Bowl here in Carolina. I mean, he's already building a new training facility in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I mean, when the football team is winning football games, it builds the fan base. And David Tepper hasn't gone out of his way in his short time as the owner to try and build up the fan base with the outfits, wearing the all blacks to the Panther in the middle of the football field. So, there is a window right now, and there is a window of opportunity for us to be able to really make a push for a Vince Lombardi trophy. And right now, the way our roster is shaped out, I mean, every team is 0-0 right now. But right now, this roster, I genuinely believe it matches up with any other roster in the NFL. Even if we might have some deficiencies here and there, I believe in the core of this football team moving forward.
And the second part of that question, I have to throw this in here. Is this season a disappointment if you're not in the Super Bowl this year? Is this a loss as a season, just based on what you have on paper going into the season?
No. I would say is that if we don't, if we're not, I would say this is a loss. We don't have time to not be competitive, right? Is that we don't have the patience to not be competitive. I think that's what you've continued to ask. Is this a all in? Is this This is what I think this is the Panthers making solid enough bet that they're telling us that this season isn't, well, let's see if we can make the playoffs. We're really seeing if we can truly move the needle. We are made a defensive change with the same head coach. I think that, is that I think the window is closing in some ways on if guys can't get you over the hump, at some point you're going to need to figure out what can. So there is that sense of urgency there in one hand. But on the other hand, I think a lot of people have said this, and CK said this on the call, Cody, is that this you trace this back to Tepper to a little bit. And I truly believe this is that Tepper has brought a sort of Wall Street mentality to the Carolina Panthers, which is not a recklessness one. But when you meet people who make money, they're never content with losing it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they don't have the long game in their mind. Tepper has a 30-year plan. Gettleman had this 10-year plan. It was all about the 10-year plan or whatever. But they are also looking at the immediate. And there is no time in this short period of earth that we are here for losing. And that, I think, is what has brought that attitude, the Wall Street, no acceptance of a time where you can't make some money.
Yeah, and to answer Gene's question directly, I'll put it to you like this, Gene. If we have another 2017 season where we win the wild card and then, New Orleans wins the division and we have to, go on the road and we're knocked out the first round of the playoffs, it is a wasted season in my opinion. If it's just that mediocre playoff push. I mean, in my mind, this is a team, again, it all depends on the health of Cam Newton and his shoulder. But if we're going on the assumption,
does this defensive shift actually work, which I think it can.
Right. And if those two things work out, then man, I mean, anything less than an NFC Championship game appearance, it's going to be a disappointing season in my opinion if we don't make that kind of push. I don't want to be just a marginal playoff team jump in the last two games of the season, I mean, the Giants won that way. I believe the Packers might have won that way also. But, no, I mean, we have the potential to be a dominant football team, and I want to win the NFC South, and that's what I feel the goal right now should be for the Carolina Panthers. Just get to the playoffs, have a first-round bye, control your own destiny, and, hey, be the big dogs of the NFC South as we were for 3 years in a row for a little while.
I think you made the real point, though, here, Gene, is what we need is will it take a is it Super Bowl or bust? I think that's an unfair expectation on anyone. At times, things just don't go right. It's like you don't fire everybody in New Orleans after they lost the way they lost, right? So they didn't get to the Super Bowl. They got robbed in that in a way. But what I would say is this, and what Cody's point is so important to me, it's about the feeling when we're there. Is this something that we stumbled into and that you really don't have what it takes and you were fortunate? Or are we in there and we have the feeling we can make some noise? We just got to get something to bounce the right way. Now, if it bounces the wrong way, we're not going to blow everything up. But we got to be in the playoffs and we got to feel confident that we can make some noise beyond just being in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. And, we can't forget either that the Atlanta Falcons blew a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. I needed to bring it up because you can't let that. Never forget that.
And don't worry, we won't let them.
We'll never let them forget.
All right,
Thank you for bringing that up.
Back to the cat calls.
No problem.
Let's see what these guys got to say.
Yo, what's up, C3? This is Nova Black, man. I had to call in first thing this morning. It's 6:17 a.m. I've been rolling since 3:30 this morning, man. Hey, We just signed Gerald McCoy, man. We just signed Gerald McCoy, man. I don't know about you guys, man, but I don't think we have ever in Panthers history made this big of a splash in free agency, man, with our free agent acquisitions and stuff like that. I mean, it's almost as if the whole Dave Gettleman era is like, what the hell were we doing? And now it's like David Tepper in here, and he's like, okay, well, I'm finna cut the chains off the Bulls and let the Bulls raise havoc in this motherfucker. Excuse my language. Marty, go get him. Do what you do. Just build us a winning team. And Marty and Ron went out there, and they got one hell of a defense lined up. They got these guys coming into the second season in this North Turner offense. Man, I'm excited to see this thing. Everybody seems to be optimistic about Cam. The line's looking good. You know, man, I'm excited about this season. But Gerald McCoy, man, another one of the guys that I've been rooting to get since the Bucks announced he was, you know, a free agent or whatever. Hey, I know everybody probably talking about the same thing, but it's all good, man. It's all good. Everybody should be fired up for the season. This defense is gonna be dangerous. Oh yeah. Keep climbing, y'all. I'm getting out of here and getting my butt back to work.
Thank you, Nova Black, man. He's been such a big part of our show and brought us our draft pick live from Bank of America. That was awesome this year. The number 1 draft pick, Nova, but tuned in from the stadium with us. Now, he brings up is this the biggest signing for the Carolina Panthers? You know, I thought that Poe last year was an aggressive signing. This is even better than that. I think you go back to names like this, is that you hope that this isn't Sean Gilbert of the Redskins that the Panthers were signed in 1999. And you hope that this is, to make a poor analogy because it's an offensive player, a Steven Davis who's ready to run us into the Super Bowl. You know, this is a more marquee name than we're accustomed to, Cody.
Yeah, it is, but it's also I don't think that it's just Gerald McCoy. I think that it's Gerald McCoy plus all of the other, genuine concerted efforts that we've made to add to the defensive line. Using the 16th pick in the draft on a Brian Burns, a dynamic defensive end that can bend the edge with speed that we haven't been able to see in some time. Then you draft another defensive end linebacker type player and Christian Miller. These are 2 guys that have the potential to be the future of your edge presence for the next few years in the NFL for Carolina. You know, then you add Bruce Irvin on top of that. Bruce Irvin is a veteran everywhere he goes, from Seattle to Oakland to Atlanta. I mean, he's been a name and he's been an immediate contributor. You know, so now not only are we going to have a good defensive line, but we're going to be able to rotate players. We're going to have fresh pass rushers that are available on third down, on second down, when an offense is sustaining a drive that has our defense on the field for a long time. We're going to be able to put in fresh bodies on the line and still be able to make plays after the quarterback. That's not a luxury that we've had in a long time. So Gerald McCoy, on top of the other moves that we've made for our defense, yeah, it does make it feel bigger than it has been in recent years.
It's not just acquisitions either. We're finally seeing is that as a teacher, I know this is better than anyone. Politicians do this better than everyone. And that is when you try something and it's not working, you just try the same thing harder. Teachers are great at this. Politicians are great at that. And this has been the mantra of the Carolina Panthers in so many ways, to where when you heard Ron Rivera talking about Mike Shula and evolving, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to hear this. But the Panthers not only have made these changes, but they made a distinct effort to change up to the new NFL. they're adjusting in a deeper, more systemic way than just trying to say, well, I didn't have the guys to do it this year. Maybe it's next year. This to me, this is what Bill Belichick and these guys have done so well for so long, is they do what works for the moment. And the Panthers have made some changes philosophically. And look, Mike Wade says this in the chat. He says, we can get rid of Poe. And I have been, I was really more excited than, and maybe I'm, just dying on that hill when it comes to Dontari Poe, but I think he is a good player. And while you saw we didn't have the best season last year, still so much of it was the edge guys not being able to do anything. Even KK Short's game suffered so much in that system. I think that you see Dontari Poe could be. We saw Vince Wilfork be very successful late in his career in New England, and even when he went to Houston. I think in that zero technique that Poe could be in a more natural position, and so I like to see those changes and see how that comes down the pipe. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's see what else we got.
Hey, Cody, you feeling the Hearn yet, man? My man, Marty motherfucking Hurney is out here having probably the best offseason that I can remember in Carolina Panthers history, in recent history anyway.
Yeah.
And mind you that he did all of this, everything. Gerald McCoy, draft picks, Darrell Williams, paired us with virtually no cap space. We only had 6 draft picks going into, or 7 maybe, going into the draft. He did so much this offseason with so little to start with, and I just got to take my hats off to Marty Hurney. Cody, Tony, hope you guys do the same. Love the show. Keep pounding, and fuck the Saints!
Woo!
Fuck the fucking Saints, man.
Marty Hurney doing a lot with very little. Is that the thing that came to mind is when you go to a strip club and they say the girl's got an ass so tight that you give her a quarter, she'll give you 2 dimes and a nickel back. Right? Is that she can change it out for you. Is Marty Hurney did do this when, as everybody told us we had nothing to work with. And what did we go and do? We had a solid offseason. Gene, you're over there. How are the Bucks? They always seem to win at this time of year. You guys have had to have been a little bit more quiet this offseason. Do you think that you've seen a team in flux try to do a lot in free agency? Looking at our free agency from the outside looking in, does it look like a balanced one enough, or does this look like a knee-jerk reaction to you?
No, I think it's very balanced. You see a few moves on the offensive side of the ball, and you see moves on the defensive side of the ball, especially. And as I mentioned before earlier in the show, it's important to remember how a lot of the games in the playoffs went, where the winners won in the trenches. And that was the most defining part of the game. So we saw that throughout the playoffs. And I think that what Carolina's been able to do with the limited amount of cap space they've had, and in making these draft picks that they have work on paper, and going out and getting these players that they can implement, plug and play, and come out and hopefully get returns on. Again, I know it's all on paper, but I think with Ron Rivera, you have a really good head coach that I think can really get these players to where they need to be. And I think, with Norv Turner and some of the other coaches that you have, that I think that this team will be up to speed by the time the season starts. With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's so many backstories, players that have left and players that have been replaced with. And so it's going to be really interesting. And I say that because I'm unsure what this team is going to look like on defense, going from a 4-3 to a 3-4 defense, with Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians coming in and changing things around from what you had with Dirk Cutter, who's over in Atlanta now. So it's going to be really fun to watch this season. I'm looking forward to it. And I think that as far as the NFC South, you will see a resurgence, and you'll see teams starting to fear the NFC South again like they used to.
And, that actually that brings me to a point. And I mentioned this before the show. Now I'm telling you, man, there's this feeling amongst Panther fans sometimes that we like to fly under the radar because we do our best football when we're being slept on and when teams are kind of, the Rams are the talk of the town, or, oh, man, Baker, Mayfield, and Odell Beckham, that's going to be so dangerous. But now I kind of feel that, the secret's getting out a little bit, and people in the media especially are really starting to take notice that Carolina, they're building a contender over here.
Yeah. And and I mentioned this before.
They are loaded on offense, they're loaded on defense, they added to the offensive line. Yesterday they added Gerald McCoy. If Cam Newton's healthy, and we've said it 3 years in a row now, if Cam Newton's healthy, watch out. They were 6-2 last year when Cam Newton was healthy. And then things hit the skids, got hurt, and after that Pittsburgh game, they were never the same. So to me, it's the biggest X factor.
So yeah, that was Peter Schrager on Good Morning Football. Now we have a team that people recognize as a talented one, and now the eyes are kind of on the Panthers now. We're not really that slept on team like we kind of feel that we are most of the time. This is a team that was in contention last year until Cam Newton got hurt, and we were trying to win the division the year before and still made it into the playoffs and still almost won on the back of Cam Newton. So, one of the things I want to ask you, Tony, is, does this make you feel any different about our team, knowing that there is going to be more pressure and more eyeballs on us to perform this season?
No. And the reason I say that is because I don't care. I don't even listen to the national media at all anymore. It's hard to stomach.
That's why people go to podcasts, is because these guys don't know what they're talking about. 9 times out of 10, they say something and they're way off the mark. And just being able to listen to you guys who have a bit ear to the ground, understand what your team is doing. Why listen to these guys? They're losing ground, and you see that all the time with some of the mistakes they make on some of the things that they report on.
Yeah, and I think for me, Cody, the reason is because I think that pressure was there. Is that I think that maybe that you can add the expectation potentially that the national media can conjure up and can stir up, right? Those expectations that may be unrealistic, or those criticisms that may be far-fetched. But, the pressure was there. The pressure's there for Cam Newton as contracts has come along. The pressure's there for Ron Rivera, who's been there for a while now. Marty Hurney, these guys are not Dave Tepper's guys or whatever it is. So there is pressure, but there's pressure every year for every team. Now, what I think is good about this at this point is we didn't have unrealistic expectations about this offseason. That's the thing, is we've had realistic expectations for the offseason, and the Panthers have surpassed our expectations. So now we're going to have measured and realistic expectations for the season, and hopefully they surpass us. Now go back to the caller who says that this is the best Panthers season in recent memory. And I have to agree, for this very reason, is that there is a calculated aggression here, but not desperation, and a nice tinge of opportunism. And that is, the Carolina Panthers did not set out this season. They were not eyeballing a Gerald McCoy. Is that Gerald McCoy, this happened, and the Panthers were humble enough and wise enough to know that they still, even though they may have had a good draft, even though they may be optimistic with some of the parts they had, that they had an opportunity to get better. And that's what I love about what we did here. We got better, where so many times in the Dave Gettleman era, we stood pat. And instead of just trying to get better, why not? You don't have to be desperate about it, but just get better. And that's what this Gerald McCoy signing was to me. Big shout out to Susan Dean, by the way, coming in with the super chat. We appreciate your support, Susan. I know you're excited.
Susan, we love you. We love you.
Gonna be on Pirate Radio tomorrow at 4 because I'll be traveling to the Big Easy this weekend. Yeah, I'm going down into enemy country, and I'll be dropping C3 stickers in toilet stalls all around and bathrooms all around, so they got to look all around. But put them in. Put a sticker way up on the ceiling so y'all assholes can't get it down.
I like that energy. We need more of it. But yeah, shout out to Susan. Susan, you know we love you. You don't have to, but you do it all the time, and we love you. We thank you for supporting the show. One of the things that I've been kind of thinking about is, I feel the same things that we're talking about on the show. It really is the same things being felt in the locker room. We have stories about. So, by the way, this is another tidbit of information. 5 months ago, Gerald McCoy became a vegan. So that's something that him and Cam Newton have in common. K1 Short and Trey Turner and I believe Greg Olsen went out to a vegan restaurant here in Charlotte.
When have you heard players being active in the courting of a guy beyond just social media?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it really doesn't.
Like they were like, I'm going to pick you up. Yeah. I'll pick you up, brother, on the way to the stadium.
Yeah. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. It feels as though there's like a real special camaraderie going on with our players right now, where there's this energy that pervades our locker room, where everyone feels that, man, this could be our year. Listen, even someone that I trash, maybe too much, Torrey Smith. Listen, man, Torrey Smith took a $3 million haircut to stay here in Carolina to add money to that pool for.
He took a pay cut.
He took
a pay cut. He took a pay cut. Went from $5 million to $2 million. Moved around his salary. We did this with Luke Kuechly and did some things. But you're right, is we're seeing that culture unfold. We're seeing. And you know what? And this is that's if there is anything that has been the strength of Ron Rivera and has showed, is that in the difficult times, teams have not quit on him and players want to play here. And he has, if anything, it has been the last couple of years, he's starting to feel the pressure. But the greatest asset that Ron Rivera has had in his whole coaching ability has not been his X's and O's planning. It's not been his gut. It's not been this. It's been his steadfast iron reserve where he doesn't get shook. And in the last couple of years, I feel like that has there's been a little toll taken on that. But now, these players coming in here, that's a sign right there that they feel comfortable with this guy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And like I said, the fact that you're in division, that they know him, they talk to him after the game twice a year. I mean, like I said, he told Trey Turner that Trey Turner was going to be a Pro Bowl guard.
Yeah, Trey Turner sent him a message 5 months ago in January saying, come play with us. He hasn't even been released yet. All right, let's go on and push through with these calls. 252-228-5098.
Hi, Tony. Hi, Cody. The gang out there. It's Rich in London. Oh, Gerald McCoy.
What's up, Rich?
Yeah, it looks like our front seven, or however many they're going to be playing, looks great this year. I mean, in rotation, you're going to have Butler and Love as well, I assume. I don't know. I think I'm hearing Mario Edison's lost a bit of weight, because at one point I think he might have subbed in on the defensive end of the 3-4 at some points, but I think he's getting a bit lighter to work off the edge as part of the linebacker crew now. So it'd be interesting to see how it works. It's going to be a real test in pass rush versus coverage, because obviously we've all still got slight concerns about the lack of a free safety being brought in. Training camp looks like Gordon's definitely been earmarked for that. I haven't heard anything on Cornell, though. I don't know if any of you have got any information on Corn as the nickel. Obviously, Ross Cockrell coming back is going to be a big deal as well, because he's actually a good player. Cockrell with Dante and Bradbury, we've got three corners. Maybe Dante goes down into the nickel. I don't know. I know apparently he spent time there at LSU. So it could be him and Corn doing that as well as staying on the outside. So you can discuss whether you think that's an idea or not.
I like Dante on the outside.
But yeah, the front line is just, that's it'd be interesting. I'll put a question out for the guys at PFF, the real nerdy ones who do their the forecast guys, and said, whether there's any issue on depth of target when you have a really, really good pass rush. Because if it's as strong as we think it might be, then really worrying about a free safety who's playing single high, what's the point? They're not going to have enough time to chuck it that far. And I wonder now whether we're going to play something like 3 with the 2 edge rushers, so almost a 5-man rush. And with Luke Keithley and Eric Reed playing coverage roles over the middle, whether the ball's ever going to get much further out than that. I mean, obviously the offenses are clever and there'll be swing passes and screens and everything else, but, worrying about whether we can cover deep down the field in the middle might be it might not be something we have to worry about too much, and just picking up the other stuff. I mean, we've got the best coverage linebacker in the league, and go from there. So we'll have to see. Anyway, on that note, I've got another 30 seconds. Oh my God, do the rest of the US underestimate the Panthers? My God, people are saying, why does everyone hate the Panthers? They don't. They just don't understand the team at all. I've put this out on social media.
Straight up.
Half the best universities in the US pumping players out left, right, and centre to the NFL and the NBA. The lack of love for the 2 Carolina sports teams, the Hornets and the Panthers, is quite mad. Anyway, guys, keep pounding.
Keep pounding. Rich from London.
Rich from London's right. There is. I think the safety thing is overblown. I think the need for a free safety at this point is that I would argue this is the year that we're going to cry and bitch and moan about safeties when we've never done anything at the safety position since Mike Mentor, right? We actually did the first thing. Signing Eric Reed is the first damn time we've actually committed to any safety, let alone now you need us to commit to both.
I think that when you're looking at the Panthers, the pass rush is going to be very important, and that frees up your secondary to not have to play as hard. I mean, they do have to cover, but your pass rush is the engine that runs the car basically. And when you are getting pressure on the quarterback, I think it makes it a little bit easier on your safety. So where you guys are at the safety position, I don't see that as a major issue compared to other teams I've seen in the NFL.
Cody, it's our most talented secondary ever that we've seen, isn't it?
I mean, it really is. And what I was about to say is I'm not even too worried. I think the addition of Eric Reed, and when you're also throwing the fact that you do have Rashawn Golden on the team, and they seem to like him a lot. And apparently he feels better going into the year this year. That's a young talent. I mean, considering we've went out there before with Trey Boston and I forget the guy's name, the guy from New Orleans, the guy with the gray hair.
Dude, Roman Harper. One of our best seasons and one of our best defenses. We had Drayton Florence. Drayton Florence was like 37 years old, and it's because we had 60 sacks that year. No team in the league can put together a secondary that can win without a pass rush. It's impossible. Right. So this is the most talented secondary we have had arguably ever.
Yeah. And, you have Dante Jackson who's coming into it. Listen, I believe Dante Jackson is going to be the next shutdown corner in the NFL. And I'm not just saying that just because I'm a Panther and I'm a Panther fan and he's a Panther. I mean, the guy has legitimate cover ability, his ability to move and flip his hips and stay in the pocket of the receiver that he's having to cover. It's an important year for James Bradberry. So it's funny that we have Gene on the podcast. I feel that you always see the true potential of James Bradberry whenever he has to cover Mike Evans, because that's a big body receiver that likes to go downfield. He's fast, he's physical. And Bradberry, he wins some and he loses some, but for the most part, Bradberry holds his own. And, he's looking for a contract next year as well. So this is a very important year for a lot of people in our backfield. Eric Reed is trying to prove that he's worth the contract that he signed. Bradberry is trying to prove that he's worth another one. Then you have a bunch of young players like Rashawn Golden and Dante Jackson, and they're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to show what kind of players they have the potential to be. So, I think Jen hit the nail on the head. Our front seven is where our defense is going to live and die. And we might have some blown coverages here and there, but if we're affecting the quarterback on a down-to-down basis, it allows our corners and our safeties to play the football, go for interceptions, take the ball away, and put the ball back in the hands of your offense. And that's the position that you want them to be in.
Tell you one thing is I'd rather have a mediocre secondary and a dominant front four or front whatever it is and 3-4, all of that, than vice versa, right? The number's 252-228-5098. Their calls are still flying in, guys. We got to keep pounding.
Panther Nation, podcast. How y'all doing? Y'all know what this is. This is G Kabati.
G.
What's up, G?
Being a guest on one of the best podcasts on the internet.
I'll
vouch for that. Hey, this is beating a dead horse, but I've been saying this all day at work, and I'm going to say it again. Beat that Gerald McCoy.
Whoop, whoop.
Man, oh, man. Can we label Hurney as the GOAT now?
G's up, hose down.
That, Hurney, this dude did so much this offseason, man. So, to me, I can put him up there as the GOAT when it comes to GMs, man. Now, to me, Gerald McCoy, he's going to cause some damn havoc, man. I really, really do think I could see good 5 sacks, maybe even 7 sacks coming from him alone this year. And I know you guys read the article of what KK said, that it's going to be a damn foot race to the quarterback. That put chills down my spine. So when we play them punk-ass Atlanta Falcons this year, yeah, Matt Ryan's going to be on his ass a lot. Him and Drew Brees and Mr. Crab Legs down in Tampa or whatever, man. But I'm telling you, man, I'm so damn excited, and I will get his jersey. And all I got to say, Gerald McCoy, man, hey, welcome to the most dominant, best football team in the South, the Carolina Panthers. Keep pounding.
When the news was announced, I don't think a lot of people got it, because every time I hear G, right? G, I think G's up, hose down. I said this: we added the big G in Carolina to make the Panthers, to show you we got the big D. Adding the big G makes for the big D in Carolina. That's right. You heard it here. The C3 Panthers podcast plows along to continue that analogy. Bad news is falling off the rails.
What is up, you guys? This is your boy, Mr. T-Money 1993. And I'm so excited about this Gerald McCoy signing, man. Our defense is about to look crazy between Poe, McCoy, and KK. Who are you going to double? And that's not even talking about the pressure we're going to have from outside, man. Watching this defense is definitely going to be fun. And I'm just glad that McCoy saw us as a contender and felt the love, felt the chemistry, felt the brotherhood. Go Panthers, keep pounding.
That's T-Money 1993. He's been a part of the show since the inception. Southbound and Down, part of that as well. Way to go, T-Money. It's today is for people that know him a little closer.
What's up, guys? I just wanted to call and take up like 3 or 4 different phone calls, right? So first thing, I called back a while ago because you guys are moping and complaining and whining about the team not signing Eric Reed. And then I listened to a few of your podcasts again. You guys were moping and whining about us not signing Gerald McCoy, okay? I iced you guys up for having that whole Jerry Richardson attitude. Because you guys again forgot we have a brand new owner who's into improving his football organization to making them a consistent contender year in and year out. So ice up, stop moping, and get on board with David Tepper, okay? We're no longer Jerry Richardson people, we're David Tepper people, all right?
Win now, all the time now.
Love what they're doing for the transition. They're not necessarily transitioning to a 3-4 base. Ron Rivera is just transitioning to a 3-4 hybrid. So it's still going to be more or less the same type of defense, but he's going to mix in a lot more fronts so that he can confuse offenses more. And the advantage thing that you get with a 3-4 defense when you put the schemes in there is you can definitely clog up a lot of those short passing lanes because your linebackers are put in a better position to cover more ground quickly, especially if you got Chaz Thompson and Luke Kuechly kind of hovering around the middle of the field. and Christian Miller and Brian Burns have good length and good speed to be able to drop back into coverage if they need to. That is what Ron Rivera is trying to do. And as far as the safety position, guys, I come from San Diego, okay? Ron Rivera doesn't necessarily need a good caliber safety. And just because he's listed as a free safety or a strong safety doesn't mean that's the position that he's going to stay in. Ron Rivera constantly flips and swaps and changes his safety depending on the down and distance and the situation in the game, okay? So Eric Reed's going to be playing different parts of the field from free safety to strong safety depending on the type of game that they're playing.
And he is the athlete to do it.
Rashawn Golden very well. Back when he was with San Diego, as a quick stat for you guys, just so you can understand the type of mind that Ron Rivera is defensively, he had the number 1 ranked defense for San Diego. And on that roster, he had 0 Pro Bowl players, okay? He understands how to use his personnel and use it very well. So, that being said, love the show. Keep pounding, guys.
That's Jetta Jor. Thanks for the call. Talking about Ron Rivera and his experience there. And, you know, one of the things is that Ron Rivera's taken more ownership of this defense. He's publicly done that. And he's going to have to take a leadership role in this transition. I still disagree with this, guys. I disagree with Jetta Jor on this. I will fight the people in the media over this. Don't give me this 3-4 hybrid crap. It's a 3-4 just because when you're in a passing down, a pure straight up passing down, like a 3rd and long or something, or when you run a nickel, 3-4 defenses play nickel all the time. Watch the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that every defense, I believe, is a hybrid defense because a nickel makes things different. I just believe that with McCoy, Short, and Poe out there, that now everybody else is going to be standing up. And then when they ain't doing that, they're in the nickel.
Yeah.
So, and if that is a hybrid thing, then I think that that's even too nuanced. What I just feel like is this: we're either in a 3-4 or a nickel. I don't think you're going to see many times other than short yardage package where the Panthers are lining up on first down with 4 men with their hand in the dirt. I don't know if we'll see that. I wonder if you could count that if we do that more than 5 times this season. 1st and 10, let's see 4 linemen on the front with their hand in the dirt. I don't think we're going to see it.
I'd love to. I'll be watching for that myself.
We're gonna have to.
Hey guys, I'm gonna jump off here, but I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I really enjoyed it. Shout out to Panther Nation. You got something to really look forward to this season, and we'll definitely get together as we get closer to the season.
All right, thanks so much for your insight, Gene. Follow Gene at Buck What You Heard. He's got the lit. It's the best, at least at the very least, it's the best podcast name.
True that. No doubt.
All right, guys.
All right, good night.
Gene, thanks for joining us, man. Have a good night, brother.
All right, let's keep going through with these calls. The number's 252-228-5098.
Hey, guys. This is
He's back. He's got something to say back to me.
Guessing the primary topics tonight is going to be the big news that happened yesterday with Gerald McCoy. I think it's a great signing. I think it's going to be great to show how many different fronts we're going to have. I'm sure Ron Rivera is going to scheme up some crazy sugar honey iced tea on the rest of the league this year. So I won't get too much into that. I'm
thirsty.
I guess
baby.
I have a question.
All right.
Which quarterback are you looking forward most to being frustrated by our defensive line? I remember my favorite memory as a Panthers fan is watching Matt Ryan totally lose his shit because Greg Hardy and CJ were just sacking him every other play. It was great. So
that's the answer.
I think that's who I'm looking forward most to, just kicking his ass is Matt Ryan. Who else on our schedule this year do you look forward to having get frustrated?
Ooh,
all right,
on
guys,
the schedule. All right. So the easy one, Cody, in division, what quarterback? I got this later. It's so easy for me. In division.
I mean, go ahead.
It's Matt Ryan for me. I'm with Jetta Joy.
Yeah, it's Matt Ryan for me too. But I gotta be honest with you, man. Drew Brees is up there too, dude. He's up there, man. Drew Brees just being able to sit back in the pocket and throw the football all over us. I feel like he's done it better than anyone else. Drew Brees is another one that's up there. I think Matt Ryan's a given. Like, we always want to see Matt Ryan getting his ass kicked.
It's so
because
easy.
He's the Falcons. Yeah, it's the easiest shit in the world. Dude, everyone wants to see Matt Ryan get dumped in the dirt as he's.
So let me tell you the real answer then. The real answer. Matt Ryan, number one, he's given. It's like the pencil in. Like, he's going to get elected like the guy that runs unopposed in a congressional district. They're like, who's the guy that just died that we should, Walter B. Jones Jr. Right. Next, though, you thought I was going to go with the Seahawks quarterback help me out. I just slipped my Russell Wilson, but no. I want to see Andrew Luck on his damn ass. Put this.
Oh man,
that's my answer. Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck. I mean, listen, I'm always of two different mindsets on Andrew Luck because I don't dislike Andrew Luck the person, but I always hate the comparisons that are made for Andrew Luck and how people will go out of their way to make excuses for him and then say that he's better than Cam Newton at this or he's a more accurate thrower. Yeah, it's all bullshit, man. It's 100% bullshit. That being said, I do like him as a quarterback. I know another one I'm thinking of. Aaron Rodgers, prima donna.
Another good one. Yeah, another. He'll get mad. We need another surface to smash the surface meme again.
Yes. Yeah, dude, listen, I'll never deny the talent that the man has, but dude, he's such a prima donna. And he dates Danica Patrick. I'm sorry, Danica Patrick is the ugliest pretty girl that's ever been shoved down our necks that I've ever seen in pop culture. I don't know, man. I don't know why people
pretty girl. Oh. Man, tough life when you're an ugly, pretty girl. An ugly, pretty girl that makes millions.
Yeah, never winning a race ever.
All right, my new crush, though, is on that golf player chick that everybody be throwing pictures around these days. There's some.
Oh, I haven't seen her. You have to shoot me a picture of her.
All right.
Not seen it. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is another good answer because he just seems like a prima donna asshole. And that's a fun match to put him on his ass.
All right, let's see who's up next.
Yo, what up, C3 fam? It's your man, Josh from Mass.
Hey, Josh!
I figured I'd have to call.
What's up, Josh?
Buffalo fan.
Y'all see me in the chat every week. I had to call.
Oh, yeah?
Just because of this week's news. This is some monumental news. Because I don't know if everybody is really ready for how nasty this defense is going to be.
Ooh.
I mean, we're talking
iced
like
tea.
Some Hulk Hogan leg dropping action going to be going on quarterback this year. It's going to be nasty. They're gonna just tell us, be like, guys, you can't have this. You can't be doing this. You can't be doing this to opposing offenses. You can't be just shitting on their parade like this. It ain't right. But it don't matter. It don't matter what they say. Because they're going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to deal with us. Man, just somebody try to tell me that defense ain't going to be some kind of nasty this year. You look at that lineup and it's like, damn, that's like walking into a graduation party that you were pretty sure might be kind of a stink. And then you walk in and you're like, oh, damn, is that 3 cases of Roaring Riot in cans? Oh man, look at that. And then you look over and 8 bottles of Jameson. Like, oh man, here we go. The party's on like Donkey Kong. And it's just going to be unbelievable. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it happen. I know y'all can't.
Also, we got to give a big shout out because yesterday was our boy Sam Mills, the man who gave us the Keep Pounding motto. It was his birthday.
That's right.
And he forever rests in peace. And, hopefully we can bring a ring home for him this year. Bring that Lombardi to Charlotte. That'd be something, wouldn't it? Bring that Lombardi to Charlotte. And also, man, I think we got to bring up the Buffalo conspiracy on the podcast more often because everybody seems to forget. They're kicking it with Cam. Cam took away a fan's hat and threw it in the trash because it was another team's hat. But what team's hat was that? It was Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Keep pounding, boys and girls. And remember, for whatever reason, Buffalo always seems to be looming.
Her name, Cody, is Paige Spiranak. Paige.
Hello, Paige.
Hello, Paige. I am not turning the page on Paige Spiranak, and boy, it gets. I mean, there's more. She is like here. I'll tell you this.
She's bad, no doubt.
She bad. On top of that, she ain't here. She ain't just do golf pictures either. She don't just do the
oh shit.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Paige Spiranak. Woo, make you blood. All right, so here, I'm excited. I don't want to get too
snack.
Here, I'll drop it in the I'm gonna drop it in the YouTube chat so they can at least get a taste of what this. I'm gonna do the censored one, which is the one, and there's nothing big. Big. It's nothing crazy. But here's Paige Spiranak for you folks. The thing here when it comes to this defense, guys, is I want to be as excited as everybody, but I just need I need Brian Burns to be everything you told me he was. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. If Brian Burns is who you say he is, then we gonna be nasty. If it's gonna if it's one of those things that we get a little consumed in, like, hey, what he can be, then it might take a little time. All right, you're listening to C3 Panthers podcast. There are still calls to go though.
All right, what's up, C3 podcast? What's up, fam? How y'all doing? It's Carl D. I'm just making a quick call. I was reading in the comment section. A lot of people, Hurney did do some things in free agency this year. He did some great things, but come on now, let's call spades a spades, guys. We all know who the real MVP of this free agency signing is, and that is our owner, David Tepper. The reason Hurney is doing this stuff because he know his ass is on the line. Excuse my French. So hell, if your job was on the line, if your boss came to you and said, "Look, I want some players, somebody that's gonna make impact," hell, you'll go out there and sign arguably the best center in free agency, and one of the top linebacker in free agency, and the top defensive lineman in free agency, plus re-signing Ed Reed. Yeah, you do the same thing. This is the Richardson era is over. I guarantee. Let's think about this for a minute. If no Tepper, Hurney would not have re-signed Reed, and there will be in the free agency he's doing. He would have been at the dollars. We would have players for the Dollar Tree, just like we used to. So come on now. Yeah, Hurney did a good job, but come on, let's give Tepper his due. Tepper is the real MVP here. And that's all I got to say about that. Anyway, excited for the season. Everything's going to be interesting. Let's see what happens. All right. Keep pounding.
All right, last call of the night. Here it goes.
Keep pounding, Carl.
Yeah, this is Mr. T Money 1993 again, man. I just had a crazy thought. So think about it. Cam calls himself Superman. McCoy calls himself Batman. Burns calls himself Spider-Man. And Luke is Captain America. We really on some Justice League, Avengers Assemble type stuff.
Hell yeah, we is.
Keep pounding, Panther.
Yeah, I wonder is that
heroes of the NFC South, baby.
Yeah, is that this is what you're seeing as a generation of comic book nerds of coming up. People have met, is that nerd is in.
Yeah, man. Listen,
somebody tell Paige that. Tell Paige that these two nerds get on the damn internet every Tuesday night.
Hey,
nerdy
man.
as shit. Nerdy.
Yeah, man. Listen, they grew up in the same era as me, man. I grew up, in love with comic books and comic book movies and all this. They love it. I love it. And hey, man, it makes it more personable, man. These are guys that are just like us. They're just like everybody else. I love it, man. When I saw Gerald McCoy on Hard Knocks, I love documentaries, which is why I'm so pumped up about All or Nothing for the Panthers. But I watch every Hard Knocks, and when I saw Gerald McCoy with his life-size Batman statue, I mean, that dude has a man cave, okay? That dude has a lair. It's hard not to pull for someone that personable, man. And he's looking to whip ass for the Carolina Panthers.
Jake Delhomme says, by the way, congratulations on your getting 10 games of color color commentary on the Panthers games. But Jake Delhomme in the chat says, talking about Paige Spiranak, she probably sucks at golf like Anna Kournikova sucked at tennis. They just keep her around so people can tune in to see her. Was it Anna Kournikova? I thought it was there was another one that was a Russian chick that was amazingly hot. But I'm gonna say this: is Jake Delhomme is the only squeaky guy that's gonna kick Paige Spiranak out of bed for eating Oreos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
I'm gonna be like this: I'm crummy sheets.
If she's in my bed, she ain't eating Oreos.
You eat Oreos. Okay, with you. But crumbs everywhere. You can front teeth chew some Lay's potato chips in the bed. I don't care. All right. Just joking. All right, that's messed up. We kidding. We just joking around here. We're excited. We had a good day. We've all had a good day today because dang, Gerald McCoy. All right, well, let's power. Do you want to do the quarterback thing real quick?
I want to say no.
All right, let's save it for next week.
I feel that we could do a long segment on this with a lot of thoughts and intricacies and stuff.
Okay, and this guy, we had a lot of guests. We had a lot of things to talk about. We had a lot of calls tonight. All right, well, let's go ahead and start wrapping this. Wait, I did want to see. We got through the Gerald McCoy thing. Let's see. Anything else about this? Oh, I did want to mention this, guys. The first Will Grier plant story is out. Albert Breer. Albert Breer says that he has he hasn't seen this, but people who he knows around the Panthers organization are talking about how well Will Grier is doing in OTAs. Now, you haven't heard any of this from the Panthers media. Josh Klein from Roaring Riot has come out to say that Taylor Heineke has been the guy that has looked like the pro football quarterback out of those three guys that are back there. I told you, what is the best case scenario for Will Grier? Cam Newton, healthy. Will Grier, you hear stories like, hey, Norv Turner and him, man, is that, yeah, you can't surpass an MVP, but boy, he could step in at any moment. He's picking up that offense. You need a couple of good preseason games out of him. This is a plant. The Albert Breer story, Albert Breer on Will Grier is a plant by Marty Hurney. Again, feeling the Hearn. Trade bait.
Yeah, man. Listen, if we're able to trade Will at some point down the road, listen, I already told you my thoughts on him. He is a very expensive insurance policy, And that's about it, man. I mean, listen, I hope that he's able to be a good quarterback in the future, just not for my Carolina Panthers. This is a team led by Cam Newton, and it should be that way for the foreseeable future.
All right, let's jump in here, Matt. Guys, we've had a fantastic show. We thank you for your support. Thanks for all the cat calls. You guys were great. Thanks for the chat and in YouTube chat. We still got one segment, the Ice Up picks, to get out of here. But guys, we've appreciated your support. You're great each and every week. Giant show today. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. If you're watching on YouTube, turn that phone to portrait mode, smash that thumbs up button, and then iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, subscribe, leave us a review, and share the show with one Panther friend. It helps us grow one listener at a time to grow Panther Nation together. All right, Cody, let's jump in and get these Ice Up picks out of the way. I'm icing up this week a Jenna Lane, ESPN reporter who has, and let's see, I'm going to go ahead and throw the video up here. It's not a video, is that Jenna Lane is the one who has fueled the fire when it comes to, let me see, McCoy versus hot takes. Here it is. Jenna Lane, ESPN Tampa Bay. I guess she's the David Newton to Tampa Bay. Obviously, she looks better than David Newton, but her takes are just as trashy. 1 hour, she tweets, after Ndamukong Suh revealed that he would indeed be wearing number 93. Gerald McCoy signs with the Panthers. Not a coincidence. Well, she goes on. Gerald McCoy, we heard that people said he was sensitive. I say, setting this record straight, fires back, and he says, really, Jenna? Really? This is how stuff gets started. Complete nonsense. Stop reaching. You know me as a man. Have some integrity. I haven't responded to any of the other nonsense you write, but this is just wrong. You're reaching for no reason. Just stop, man. And then she fires back and tries to double down and says, and you know me as a human being and a reporter. You still have my number. Like, shut up, girl. You got caught. You got burned.
Yeah.
Just retract. 100%. Retract, but no. Sensationalism, ESPN, and then the best tweet. So to you, Jenna Lane, ESPN, I say ice up, but there was a fantastic tweet that someone said, who's going to be the person that tells them about the ESPN beat reporter in Carolina? And I was like,
because David Newton sucks.
Yeah, he's like, and he's not easy to look at, Jenna. So to you, Jenna, fomenting unrest, for you, hot taking it, and this nonsense is that when you get called out, delete, like, walk it back a little bit. Walk it back a little. Well, I don't know. Maybe it says something about her that she is just to be honest and forthright with what she was trying to do there. Jenna Lane, ice up. Cody, what you got for us?
So, I was about to ice up one Joe Biden, but you know what? In the middle of the show, I had to change it because, as always, I'm on Twitter and some dumb shit just pops up in my face. I want to show everyone a video, and if you're listening on the audio podcast, check out the YouTube video. Look how dumb this is. This is a 74-year-old woman who injured her foot hiking somewhere in Phoenix. There is a 74-year-old woman on that stretcher right now.
Let me just describe this moment for you folks. Is right now a stretcher is being pulled up by a helicopter, and if you can imagine a yo-yo that has been twisted up to where you got to hold the yo-yo and let it spin out till it straightens up. They're spinning her back down.
I know.
They got to straighten the yo-yo. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What went wrong here? What is going on? How is this even happening? How does someone spin around? Like, what are they doing to this poor old lady? Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, literally, she is spinning around. So look, now they're just flying off. It's like we gave up. They gave up. I hope you make it all the way to the hospital.
Look how fast she was moving, dude. Oh my God. Dude, that's a 74-year-old woman who probably has a shattered ankle or some dumb shit. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Is that not the
speeds
dumbest?
up. It speeds up too. Like, what do they do? And then they just leave. It's like this. We're going to fly with your twist. How does she get twisted more?
I don't
They
know.
got her all the way to the top. Look, they're about to get her in. And then all of a sudden, she just starts like a top. Oh my goodness. Well, who you icing up here?
I don't even know, man. How about the woman? Why are you 74 years old hiking in the mountains anyway? Oh my God, dude. But listen, who? Oh, it's hard to watch, man.
Ken D says walking the dog, and I gotta say, just like this isn't a base 3-4, it's a hybrid. This is a hybrid of walking the dog and around the world.
Look how fast she's moving, dude. Oh my God.
She makes the blades look like on the helicopter look like they're turning slow.
Oh my. Dude, whoever was in charge of saving that poor woman. Oh my God, dude. Eyes up. I was not prepared for that, man.
Oh. Wow. Whoa. Oh my goodness. Eyes up. Holy cow. Cody, that is the best video ever. Oh my goodness, that is so good. All right, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. It's been a fantastic show on a night that we shouldn't have anything to talk about. We got too much to talk about and more. Next week, guys, I got some news, though. Next week, and I should have said this earlier, we are going to have to push the show back to Thursday because I'll be returning from the Big Easy. And as long as Cody can be my wingman on a Thursday, we're going to do it on Thursday. We will not miss a week, though. I will not miss a week. But my name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Cody, how can they get after you, brother?
By the way, I do believe the woman lived. For those of you wondering if that gave her a heart attack.
She's still dizzy, though.
Oh, God. She might never not be dizzy for the rest of her life. At CODYLAC on Twitter. Hit me up about fucking anything you want. I'm accessible, approachable.
We're all worn out by that video. All right. Subscribe, whatever. You know what we got to do. Just celebrate because we're getting better each day. And next week we got some real football. We're going to keep pulling those guests for you. Thank you, Charlotte Vibe. Thank you, Buck What You Heard, Gene Thomas. Go follow all those guys in their work. We got to get back with Charlotte Vibe and hear about this rappelling down some former Panthers were rappelling down a skyscraper to raise money. We'll find out what that's about. I'll get you the scoop. But until next week, remember Thursday, we're not going to miss an episode, so you don't need to either. Keep pounding.
Boom, boom.
Dude, that fucking video, man.
I know, dude. I was not prepared.
My. Subscribe to the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or anywhere you can catch an RSS feed. Check out CarolinaCatChronicles.com for the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective.
Great cash, homie.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.